Are you romanticizing about something? It seems like you're proud of the way you act when you're not acting right.
I could be proud about this. You're right, and that's a risky road. That is a risky road to be on, being proud of doing possibly the wrong thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, dogs, and please pull up a chair and sit on your knees. We have a story to tell you that we are still learning about. Welcome to Talk the Walk. My name is Henry Moses.
My name is Jenny Tucker.
I'm Jared Morland.
And I'm Gabriel Moses, and we are super happy to be here, and thank you all for joining us wherever you may be.
And a very happy Monday to everybody that's listening.
Yes, happy Monday. Hope you're listening to it early and drinking coffee with us.
Yep.
Well, I'd ask how everybody's week has been, but Jared, I know your week.
Jared has struck again.
Man, you gotta.
Yeah, I'm like, what's so funny?
I'm coming up with a theme song.
What happened?
For Jared and for Gary. So Gary, because Gary doesn't enjoy listening to one of our episodes if we don't get some kind of singing. So I've got one. I've got a theme song for Jared.
It's not that great, but it's
not. They're never that great, but they're funny.
Is this like a theme of Jared's life type of song? Is that what this is?
It lines up with the whole drive-through.
Oh yeah, Jared's
blunders.
Again.
Jared strikes again. Man. It's getting a little better, but it was not good.
So it goes a little something like this.
Is there a sound effect we can put for that? Jared's blunders.
Dun dun dun. Jared strikes again. Dun, dun,
terrible.
Dun. Jared strikes again. And another one gone, another one down. Jared strikes again. Hey, he's going to get you too. Jared strikes again.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like it.
Poor Jared.
Yeah.
And on that note, I concede the floor to you, my friend.
I didn't lose my...
This just happened?
Yeah, it's like within the last 24 hours.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man.
And look, Jared has a way of doing it in a way that seems nice. But kind of like ma'am, you don't have to. No, ma'am. You know, the garage sale.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to buy anything.
You just don't worry about putting that.
Don't even put it up.
Just feel free to
stick it on the floor.
Just lay it on the ground. Go.
And not only is it, I'm in a, there's a.
Ma'am, let me share my tea with you, ma'am.
So it's fantasy football season. I love fantasy football, but is getting down to the wire. Nobody really talked about getting into a league. So I was like, well, I don't have to be in a league. But then last minute, some buddies messaged me and were like, hey, we're going to do a league. I was like, yeah, I'm in. And one group they're super serious about football and fantasy football and all of that. And so we have our league, and then we use the WhatsApp app or GroupMe. We're using GroupMe as a communication. So they're just going on. And I'd already talked to the guy that runs the league last Saturday about, hey, I probably can't be there for the live draft. He's like, hey, no problem. We'll do a auto pick, and I'll make sure you get good picks and all that stuff. I was like, cool. But then this whole other conversation takes place. And this is me just being super busy the last few weeks. A lot of touch and goes. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really reading stuff in its entirety. I'm just skimming over things, hearing things the way I want to hear them. And that's where this all happened. So
I do that every day.
This message goes out, and I'm referenced in this group as Pastor Jared. Hey, Pastor Jared, if you have signed up and have had no communication about being able or not able to draft, then your first pick will be a kicker and not a top tier one. Really looking for active players this year. So I didn't realize, and if you've had no communication about being able, because I just clarified, said, hey, can the people not participate in the auto pack I was trying to represent everybody, even myself. And he was just clarifying, if you're not communicating with us and you're just taking up space, we're going to get you a crappy kicker, which is not who you want as your first pick. I received it as he was talking to me. Because we want active players this year.
Yeah, you can, but we're going to screw your draft up, dude.
That's what I thought he was saying to me.
That's the way you took it. Yeah.
I said,
I don't know if I can go any further in this story.
And I said, cool. I fully understand, and it's y'all's league. I'll bow out if draft attendance is the only thing that deems anyone an active player, quote unquote. I'd rather that slot be available to someone that fits the bill.
So you worded it in a way that sounded like you were trying to be, but everybody knows.
Anybody could have read that undertone.
Oh, yeah.
But it could have been worse.
Yeah, and the one guy says, hey, now, y'all be sweet to one another. And I said, hey, I love Dwayne and y'all, no issue here. I'm as sweet as, and you always use LOL to kind of try to soften the blow.
Yep.
But no one
Laughed.
talked. I mean, this has been an active conversation all day. Like nobody had anything to say after that.
You killed
And then I went to the league and withdrew myself. I left the league. Yeah.
This is awesome.
And there's a lot of people I go to church with on this, and they know.
And you're referred to as Pastor Jared.
Yes, and I just, but I didn't like cuss. I didn't throw a fit.
It was a great job being passive aggressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So at noon today, I said, hey, guys, I have to do the walk of shame here. Because Henry did say, like, you did pull the jerk move publicly, so you need to walk this back publicly. I said, okay, you're right. So I just said, I have to do the walk of shame here. I made a comment post yesterday bowing out of the league regarding the draft after rereading Pastor Dwayne's comments, because he's a lay pastor also. He made it clear if there was no communication, then you get a crappy kicker. Basically, I overreacted as a result of not reading clearly. My apologies that I came across as a jerk move, because it was a jerk move. And anyway, have a great day. And if you find it in your hearts to invite me back in the league, I'd be thrilled. If not, I'm cool with that also. And so I know Dwayne had to have been offended because he never responded after that.
Yeah.
But within 2 minutes of my post, Pastor, there's never an apology needed from you. You're a rock star. No feelings hurt. I'm glad you're in this league so that you can witness my climb to glory, love you, and all that. So anyway, that is like.
So I have two thoughts. One, good job, great job showing everybody how an apology is done. Mm-hmm. Two. Okay, three. So two, the other pastor was annoyed, and I would have been too. But great job not responding, just saying, okay, if you ain't got anything good to say, don't say anything.
Yeah, obviously he cared.
And three,
if he didn't respond all day yesterday,
no response.
Then within 2 minutes he responds. He was probably a little relieved too.
Yes.
No, he didn't respond. Someone else responded.
No,
today.
No, the guy
within 2 minutes.
The guy that I retaliated against never said a word.
Never responded, right.
But when I apologized today, he was the first to respond, which pretty much confirms his offense. He was offended.
Yeah. Okay.
Which makes me feel even worse. Like,
yeah.
But here's what I like.
And we're super good buds.
Yeah.
So like, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when each of these dudes
got that message.
They're like,
and how they responded to it, like,
what?
Whoa.
If they're married, like what they were taking.
Well,
hey, can you read this and tell me if I should be offended? It's a little passive, so I'm not sure.
Well, it's like yesterday. I mean, we were talking about scheduling, and again, I've been off all week, and I even was like, Hank's trying to poke at me about me like being super sensitive about scheduling, and I'm not trying to be an elitist and all that.
We were having a little bit of, because we tend to, it's hard, man. All four of us are just busy and have crazy schedules during the day.
Yep.
So it's a little hard getting everything to line up to record.
Yeah. And
that's the nice thing about having four people. If it comes down to it, 3 or 2 can do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
And so, but it did stink because it had been a few weeks since we'd all been together.
And you don't want to miss over a simple scheduling thing. It's like if I'm out of town, that's one thing, but to be in the same city and the schedule not work, it irritates me.
Yeah. And so I was the one messing it up, being like, hey, can we record at noon? Because I've got some realtors coming to see me at 2. And I'm
miffed because he's changing the time. I'm like,
I kind of wondered. That's funny. I just now found that
we had a plan.
I read that you were miffed.
As
soon as I read that last night, I was like, because anytime.
So he was being passive aggressive on that. Well, you're the passive, the Paul king.
I'm the king of passive aggressive. I can be.
So it's beautifully done though.
Yep.
And so I read he's like, hey, if my schedule's this and that, man, I'll take one for the team, but blah, blah, blah. And so you send out this long post, which is not like you.
No.
You just kind of, and so I thought that's weird.
Yeah, Jared's more like a one-line flap.
Well, what I wanted to say was
the king is
yeah.
I was like, are we going to record at noon or 2? Like, let's make up our minds. I mean, that's where that's like
I was long. And so, but to be clear, we had talked about it before. And remember, because Jenny can't always be here at 2. And so sometimes it's going to be noon, sometimes it's going to be 2.
Well, it wasn't convenient for me
Clear-
yesterday.
No, 3 is what I couldn't do.
Oh,
2
cool.
I could
Well,
always
that's good
do.
to know.
3.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
cool.
Yeah.
So I misunderstood.
I even knew that. Well, I'm glad we're working
So,
this out
that's
on the
right.
air.
On the air.
On the air.
For the record, everybody, that's why I don't take part in these text threads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't
At
think
all.
that's why. But we don't have enough time to get into that.
No,
But
I'm not a part.
so I
up
just
at 2
say,
o'clock.
I'm like, Jared's being weird. Like, what's he doing? So I just respond back, hey, you're not that elite. Nobody.
You're not that special. Everybody
You're not
else
that
has a
special.
schedule too. And then I'm like,
Well, no. As soon as I was trying to work. I was sick from that surgery, and I was trying to read it, but I couldn't focus on that and work and month end and nausea and all of that. And that when I saw that, I was like, I can't fully take in this text and really read it. Something feels weird to me, but Henry and Jared always banter back and forth in a way that makes me
We make
uncomfortable
people
anyway.
Yeah.
well, he
And
was
so-
bantering. I was in my feels, obviously,
Yes.
all day and all week. And I told him, I said, man, I didn't want Jenny to think I was trying because she's just as busy. He said, if Jenny's mad at anything, she's mad at what I texted you.
Yes.
Because I texted
right.
that to
That's
you.
exactly right.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
exactly right.
I knew it was
As
going
soon
to
as I
when I
saw
sent
that,
it
I was
out
like,
there, I was like, Jenny's
what?
not going to, it's going to kill Jenny.
Yes.
This.
That's when I made the
she's
decision.
not-
I'll pick this up when I get home tonight,
Yeah.
where I can really deeply
Yeah,
read
I'm
it
out.
and see what's going on. I don't want to see this right
So
now.
I was waiting on a zing response back, and I would know. I knew because that was my way of testing the waters. Is Jared okay or not?
Right.
You throw out a zing. If he zings back, Jared's fine.
Yeah.
If he gets a little sappy, which is what you did, then I'm like, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, we end up talking today, and we're talking for a few minutes, and I'm like, hey, dude, what was wrong with you yesterday? You clearly
That was
were- and
just
he's
the first of 2.
And so he starts going into it, and I'm like, I could
Hence
not
chill
talk.
talk.
'Cause-
There's
man.
nothing worse than when you lose your confidence, your mojo, I know what
Which
I'm talking
never-
about.
Jared
I
never
know
does.
what I'm doing.
Rare.
I know how I'm doing it.
Yeah, I've been-
and nothing can shake me. When you get shook, you're like, I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, I've been overreacting.
Yeah.
I'm either overreacting too sappy or I'm overreacting too aggressive.
Right.
Like I can't get.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah. Whew.
I hate it when I lose my mojo.
Well, I hope our listeners. I hope this didn't bore y'all to tears, but welcome to my life.
Oh man, the roller coaster.
100% of the people listening have been there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we all do. We all do. I mean, we all get, but I do. You mean your passive aggressive strokes. Jared is the king of wit. I'm pretty good. Jared's the king of wit. And man, I told Jared.
I'm not smart enough to keep up and know what's wit and what's for real.
Right.
I
me
just
either.
keep it real for the most
Well,
part.
we've learned,
Unless it's
like-
you, Henry. If it's Henry, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because you can't mess that up.
No,
With
we've
other people, you
learned.
can't.
Sometimes we've learned about each other. Hey, time out. Like
Too much.
this is for real. Like I'm going to talk for real for a minute. Like we have to like.
You have to say it.
We're good. And then usually when you do that, it just means we're going to zing you even harder when you start talking more
Yeah,
serious.
because you're storing it up. You're storing up the zings.
Check this out. So my kids, they go to San Jacinto Christian, right?
Yeah.
And my stepdaughter Mary is she's in 7th grade, and she's got this group of girls there's 3 other girls. So together there's 4 of them, and they get along great. They're all cute as a button. They love God. They're good girls. But that's their group. Well, they were all trying to go down this road the other day of insulting each other with the ha ha and being witty with each other and just trying this locker room talk. One of them, after about 15 minutes, said, look, I don't like this. I think we need to cut it out and stop. And they all simultaneously said, I don't like it either.
No one wanted to be the first.
They were all starting to get their feelings hurt.
I I hate it. I hate hearing it.
girls.
I can't stand it.
Women aren't designed that way.
I don't think men are either. I don't think men should do it either.
Oh,
No.
It better be someone who you are near and dear to that you have known.
You can't just do it to anybody,
and that they know you do not mean that.
That's right.
They gotta know it.
There's truth in jest. So you
No,
mean
there's
it a
not.
little.
No, that's why you're a woman and we're men.
No, I think there's scripture. I think there's scripture that supports what Jenny's saying, and
You're
there's
a
probably
woman.
not scripture that support. No, I just act
Like,
the way
like
I
out
act.
of the heart the mouth speaks.
Are you?
Come on.
Hey, are you romanticizing about something? It seems like you're proud of the way you act when you're not
I
acting
could
right.
be. I could be proud about this. You're right, and that's a risky road. That is a risky road to be on, being proud of doing possibly the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Even though you want to back it up.
Don't you hate, like, especially in testimonies? I can't stand.
Yeah, someone gives their testimony. A testimony's full of bad stuff, honestly, right?
And it just and it's supposed to. I mean, testimony
Glorify the Lord
is right and bring people to Christ. I mean, really, anytime I start telling someone about why I love Christ so much, I go through the idiot that was me.
Yeah.
And how only Christ could save me from myself and bring me to him. And it's a horrible story. It's just rough, but I'm always glad to share it. But man, there are, and it does, man. The Lord will use it to bring people to him. Mm-hmm. Have y'all ever noticed that sometimes, and you feel free to correct me if you disagree, but it seems like it's a lot of, there will be like these mega preachers. And they'll be telling their testimony, and boy, back in the day, I could put down, and I guess I have done this. So I haven't done the girl thing. Boy, I had the girls, but I have done the.
Or I could,
it would take me 18 beers to get a buzz, and I'll say it like that. So I guess I've been guilty.
Well, I've heard people sitting around talking about their party stories, and I'll be like, and I start telling about my party days, and I'll try to preface it with, I'm not proud of it, but man, I could tie one off, but I'm trying to be funny and fit
preface
in.
it with, I'm not proud of it.
I'm not proud of it.
To be clear,
but I am I'm trying to do that to make my conscience feel better, but I'm really trying to fit in, and I'm not trying to draw them and let them know that there's a better way than in a life in Christ. Like, I'm just trying to fit in and be funny with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dangerous ground.
Or I've heard, I think the one that comes to my mind is the most. We used to know a person that had a former, thug life, basically. And he had, beat back drugs, supposedly. Supposedly had beat back the drug life and the alcohol life and all of that. But when he went to talk about this life of his, it was always, who he beat up, and like you said, how he could drink, and who feared him when he walked the streets, and and stuff like that. And instead of being, because it seems like, and here's the thing too, some people have, biblically this is true too, some people have a conscience that's so easily pricked. Mm-hmm. Taking a piece of gum without asking will weigh on their conscience. That's me.
That's my wife.
Yeah, I think I don't discuss testimony. I'm so ashamed still to this day. I don't like to think about it. I might close my eyes and cringe. It's just not something I like to think about. And so we don't all bear that burden. However, and so that's a gift. That's a gift. Those who are not, easily don't have that conscience pricked so easily.
So most.
Yeah, have to deal with, the things that they did. They did it because they didn't have a problem with it, and then it was the conviction of the Lord that turned them away, but they never necessarily thought, I guarantee you with those sins, they thought they feel better not doing them. They just do, because that sin is not penetrating their life in this way that hurts them anymore. But to literally stop and think consciously that was a wrong or a bad, they're pretty proud that they could get all the girls and use them and, get any girl they want and do whatever they want with those girls. That is something that,
Or guys, I've dated
yes
incorrectly in the past. and girls are talking about how they did things that were just, to me, terrible. I was like, that honestly is vomit worthy to me. And the idea being, I sensed it in talking to this ex of mine. I think you're still proud about that. You're talking about it like it happened, though it was like several years ago, 4 years ago or something. But I think if that opportunity presented itself today, you might still do it.
Mm-hmm.
It is the romanticizing of sin. But of course, she wasn't a Christian.
There was a time, man, I was like convicted of this while y'all were talking about it. Here we go. I mean, I'm already under the bus from early talk, so I might as well just do it again. But because I know y'all talked about, let's talk about, what about people that romanticize their sin? And I just had a thought, what about when you try to get someone, when you romanticize someone else's sin? Like, prime example, there was a time that me and Hank enjoyed some sin life stuff together. And I've tried to get him to tell other people that story. Hey, dude, tell him about this time. And I want him to tell it because it's funny. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. And it kind of irritates.
I'll talk about it in a bad way.
But it kind of it would irritate me a little bit.
Really?
And then now, not really, because I thought it was funny and I thought somebody would think it was funny.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here thinking,
I'm
there's
definitely
nothing.
older than you.
Yeah, you are today, especially in the last 24 hours.
Just kidding. It's embarrassing to even say that.
I can't be a part of this conversation anymore.
Well, thank you for joining us. This will be the last episode we ever do.
But no, I mean, how many times do we, even as Christians, try to get our fellow Christian to brag about their past sin in the wrong context?
Why do you think that is? Why do y'all think?
That's a good question.
Why? I mean, what is it about ourselves that makes us want to? And Jenny, I don't know. You tell me. Is this a woman thing, or is this mainly a guy thing? Because I don't feel like
it's not.
I hear women doing it as often as guys.
I don't either.
I've never heard a woman say, "Oh man, don't make me go back to my thug days. Oh, if I was still living this way, you wouldn't be talking to me that way." You don't hear dads do that.
Actually,
I'm like, well, it depends on what group you're in.
I have one. I just realized I do have one. I do. Okay. I got it. I've been trying to relate to this. I love this subject, but it's hard for me to relate to it. Yes, this is something that I say. You might see my 16-year-old self come out.
Oh.
Y'all heard me say that.
Yeah.
And of course,
I grew up in the hood.
Well,
is that romanticizing your sin?
No,
when
I'm
you
not
say
saying
that?
you say that,
Right.
but I've said that.
Yeah, I think I am romanticizing that. I can still go thug on you.
Right.
I go gangster.
Yes, and then at the same time,
I've been redeemed, but don't make me bring out
don't bring out my 16-year-old self.
Yeah.
And really, I can admit right now, I've never admitted this to myself, because most of the time I'm battling that. I am battling trying to have correct grace, full of grace responses. Something similar to this did happen, 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 now. Where's the 16-year-old self, a little more restraint than 16, but that spirit of that,
the spirit of it
came out, and I have struggled with it. I've struggled with, the rightness and the wrongness of it more than I ever have in my past. So I'm not as proud of it, and I'm literally working through this right this minute. I never even thought I was proud of it until just now.
Are you going to send out a group thread, as Jared did, and apologize to those people a few weeks ago? We're not there yet.
Well, Gabe, let me ask you, Gabe, why do you think it is? Why do you think it is that we do that?
Simple.
All right, hit me with it.
Satan is not a cool dude. Just satanic.
You think it's just satanic?
Absolutely, I do. But because we want to, that there was a funness. It's the same reason people turn away from God all the time. They want to think that what they're doing was right and okay and fun and good. Mm-hmm. And Carrie and I, we talked about that fella, Brent, who was an atheist. And I was talking to him about that the world is fallen, that there's a lot of things about it that are just so bad. He didn't see it. He didn't want to see it. He did not want to see that there is evil going on. I said, how could you say that? I was like, are young children not brutalized? Are people not being murdered? And all the things that go on in this world? Are you lost it? Mm-hmm. And he paused on that. But we want to think there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with anything. It's the way of the fleshly man, right? That wants to go, what's wrong with that?
Oh, I
was having fun doing that. And if it's fun, I wasn't killing anybody. You know, I was having fun. But it's when you give your life to God, you're saying, I am rejecting the ways of this world, and I'm going to lose my life so I can gain it, right?
Right.
No one wants to think that what they're doing is wrong, but we got to connect it to it is wrong. And sometimes I don't know if, and then Jenny, let's see what you were going to say. I'm curious what you were going to say.
I'm piggybacking on you.
Dad told me a story one time about this preacher that wanted to go to a baseball game. Do you remember that, Henry, at all? Or Jenny?
Others may, you may not.
Others may, you may not.
Okay, yeah.
He wanted to go to this baseball game and with his friends. His friends were going, but God put it on his heart. You can't go. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, but everybody else all the guys are going. And he said, God simply told him, others may, but you may not. Mm-hmm. And it's the story of so many of our lives is God saying, I need you to do this and not do that, or don't do this. And if you can't reject it, you're just not gonna have the connection with God that you could, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason the reason that you want to glorify that sin is because that sin, especially right now, we are in the age of man. We worship self, and we've been in that age for a very long time now, where we glorify self. You know, I'm going to be true to myself. I'm going to go find myself, all of that self stuff. And so we've created ourselves to be God as a society. This is
absolutely, as
a society, we are always about ourselves. We talked about the memes, rise from the ashes type, I am the storm, all of that. And so that thing about, I'll use mine about you don't want to see my 16-year-old self or whatever.
Yeah.
Ridiculousness.
That's a good one.
That's all me. That has nothing to do with God.
So it's self-glorification.
It is making me God.
So you're saying, yes, I admit that I am nothing without God, but every now and then
I got to come to the table, man, and straighten.
Look, man, if I need to lay God off for a second, you don't want me.
I'll handle this.
Yeah,
you don't want me to
let me
God
handle
to
it.
the side while I know I don't drink anymore, but just so you know, if I wanted to, I could put you all under the table.
Well,
right.
Well, 2 Timothy 3
let's get some
is talking about, in the last days, but something in verse 2 says, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, that there's just going to be a form of ungodliness, denying its power, and from such people turn away. And then Proverbs, I thought this is interesting, Proverbs 8:13, the fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Mm-hmm. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. So if we don't hate the evil we lived, do we lack the fear of the Lord?
Say that again.
If we're romanticizing in sin, the fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Your sinful ways are evil, and you don't hate that, and you're proud to talk about that. Do I really recognize who God is in my life?
Boy, I think that's Jared. I think that's hitting the nail on the head. And I've been just kind of spreading that around, especially my kids, over the last couple of years. Is you say you love Jesus, but the stuff you're doing does not reflect that. And I tell my kids, I promise you, your words mean jack crap to me. What your actions do tell me who you really are and what you really believe.
And what they're really battling is just like, Paul, why do I do the things I don't want to do? And why do
I don't want to come with a big old thunder. I'm just saying.
But you did. It sounded like you were pretty thunderish on those little sweet kids of yours. Me and Jenny are like this all the time. Hey, you better be easy on those kids.
No, but I've got to alert them to the concept, you turkeys.
The last time we recorded, Gabe was trying to put his daughter in timeout and wasn't going to let her watch TV. She's going to have to sit in the corner while we record.
Yep.
And me and Jenny were like, that is not right.
We went to bat for her.
And
was I?
Yes. And she finally got to watch TV while we recorded.
She's just going to have to sit there and stare at the wall by herself out there. Nobody to talk to.
She had 14 different punishments for one crime. It's like, and me and Jenny were like, that's not fair. And he was getting so mad at us, like, I'm the dad.
I know.
Well, you're not doing it right.
Gosh, that's so
He
terrible.
just got a dose of that today too. So
I've got everybody coming against me on something I did to discipline my boy Logan, my guy.
Yeah, it's easier to see them through a different lens.
It's
Jerry,
from the
but you-
outside in, it's so easy.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is. It's so easy.
which we also said he's the greatest dad. So
Exactly.
There's that.
Yeah.
But Jared, you just brought up Galatians 5, and I just happened to be looking that up. Let me read that real quick. So it says, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things that you want to do. So it's almost like and this little graphic, but a pimple, right? You've got this great complexion.
Thought it was going to be something really bad.
You work so hard on a complexion, and they're nasty, right? All of a sudden, it starts rearing its ugly head right on your nose, or or somebody says, "Hey, dude, you got a white head."
Yep.
It's kind of similar to that. It's like all of a sudden, it's like that. It just boils up that flesh. You're telling that story, and it's really not. You're not even. You wouldn't even go do that sin now.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. But it's like the flesh starts kind of working its way past the Spirit, the covering that we have of the Spirit, the blood of Jesus. And then all of a sudden you have this stupid little, and I think a lot of the people that do it, they're not trying, they don't mean for it to come but it's just that stinking flesh that creeps up there. That's why, the first thing he says is walk by the Spirit so you won't gratify the desires. But it says the desires of the flesh. So we won't, so the flesh still has those desires. That's, I was talking the other day about, I still have a desire to be drunk. I mean, I'm just going to be real about that. Yeah, I like it. Like my flesh loves that. It's fun. I've never been a mean person when I was drunk. And man, I love everybody. And well, okay,
99%.
Let's don't romanticize it.
I'm like,
oh yeah, we're romanticizing.
But so it just was something that I enjoyed. But I'm just not going to do it because I walk by the Spirit. But my flesh still has that kind of, and so somebody was asking me the other day, well, shouldn't you, do you still desire that? And kind of shocked that I still desire that. I was like, yeah,
I like that.
That's a.
I like that because
it's not. I've won that battle.
Why would it not be there? It's like, this is a fallen world.
Yeah, the flesh likes what the
you
flesh
just want
likes.
to become Jesus.
Broken.
All of a sudden,
my spirit is covered. Yeah. Who I actually am is covered, and that war's been won. Alcohol has no hold over me. Partying has no hold over me at all. I'll just throw myself a little under the bus. We're going on a cruise in February, right, Jared?
Don't drag me with you, bro.
I'm only dragging myself. I'm throwing myself under the ship.
I mean, I'm under there, but
and I a little piece of me. It's so crazy. A little piece of me thought, we're in international waters. Nobody's going to be around.
Even God, like he won't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's only an American God.
That's right. Yeah. Like is it really that bad? Not so. I'm next thing you know, I'm hitting up. I'm like, hey, Jared, what's a drink package? What's that?
And I had no idea what the price was.
Yeah. Yeah. Jared just threw a winky wink for everybody that hears us laughing all of a sudden. So But it wasn't, those were the desires of the flesh trying to creep out. And it wasn't, what was it, like 2 days later that I texted and was like, dude, I just got to be clear. I'm not getting that stupid drink package. That was a weak moment of thought. But the flesh, man, it's like that was working its way up. And so is that, I know that's kind of a long roundabout, but is that kind of, it's our flesh still, I used to be something. Now it almost makes it like, now I'm not much, which is true. We never were much. Without God, we're nothing. But we want.
What about this?
All right, what you got?
You're getting me thinking about something. I mean, Satan would use any tool he could, wouldn't he? Then he approached Jesus 3 times to get him to. He tried to get Jesus to fall 3 times out there when he was weak. And so he'd use anything. I'm like, whether it's a habit that's current and present day that is bad for you, that good and well is blocking you from connecting with God on a level that he really designed for your life, for you to reach that level. Or if it's something of the past that you did take a lot of pleasure in, something from years ago, and then it crosses your mind because of something you saw on TV or something you saw out in the world or something. You get this that same piece of nostalgia you feel when you smell the smell that reminds you of when you were in kindergarten and you had
love that.
Neat moment.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's just a thought. For Satan, isn't it just a thought? To romanticize, that's the tool in that moment, romanticizing your sin of the past, that glorious moment where you defeated somebody or something, but it was wrong how you did it. Yeah.
We're doing a study in our men's group in the book of Ecclesiastes. We just started it. It's already like my favorite book in the Bible now. But, Solomon is basically renouncing, romantic. He just breaks it down so simple to go along with what you said, because even in today's day, as much money as he had, he'd be the richest man in the world. He had everything and, got caught up. And then in the book of Ecclesiastes, the author's penning his words, and he's basically, that guy that offended is calling me right now. Probably to set the record straight.
Let's take that live. Put him up
if I had the connection,
I love it.
That would be awesome.
First live call.
If I had the attachment, that would be cool to be like, hey, Pastor Dwayne, we were just talking about you.
You are on air.
We got to make this happen.
Awesome.
But Solomon's basically, he starts out Ecclesiastes about vanity as vanity of vanities. And he's basically saying anything apart from God is merely a vapor. It's meaningless. And when you just read through chapter 1, it's just like, we had 2 guys in our men's group questioning that they needed to switch jobs, like what it's robbing them of their life and the things that matter the most they're getting drawn away from. And I'm like, Solomon really learned, like after all of this, he's like, hey guys, don't make the mistake I did. I had it all. I had everything.
So it's just a vapor. Kind of, I love that. Anything apart from God is like vapor. So it's almost like we're saying, hey, I'm starting to fade. You know what I'm saying? Like, God's starting to show, God's starting to get all the glory. Don't forget about me. You know what I'm saying? In those moments, don't forget about me. I'm just everything we got.
But I did this.
Yes,
I did that.
It makes you think of Satan saying, "I will rise above this and that."
You got any of that, Jenny? Just sitting over there quietly.
Oh, I just do. Yeah, I am seeing. So that last thing you said, Jared, really.
Can I read that? Just a little bit of scripture.
Yeah.
We
reading of scripture on here.
I know. These are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. What do people get for all their hard work under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises and the sun sets, then hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south, then turns north, and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. Then the water returns again to the rivers and flows out again to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are not content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Some people say, here is something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past, and in the future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. I, the teacher, was king of Israel, and I lived in Jerusalem. I devoted myself to search for understanding and to explore by wisdom everything being done under heaven. I soon discovered that God has dealt a tragic existence to the human race. I observed everything going on under the sun, and really it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. What is wrong cannot be made right. What is missing cannot be recovered. I said to myself, look, I am wiser than any of the kings who ruled in Jerusalem before me. I have greater wisdom and knowledge than any of them. So I set out to learn everything from wisdom to madness and folly, but I learned firsthand that pursuing all this is like chasing the wind. The greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. I'm just
It's kind of the opposite way of saying ignorance is bliss.
Well, and then I think of all the things I pursue and chase. And then you read that, that's like...
just compares it to chasing the wind.
He had everything.
Yeah.
He'd be a trillionaire. He'd be the richest man. Elon Musk would be begging him for his capital investment into his companies.
Right. And he was, not only that, he was a scientist. I mean, he loved the earth and everything that grew on it. He looked at all of that. He looked into all of that. He knew it all. He looked to everything.
And it was meaningless.
All of it. All the knowledge he could acquire. He says that. All the knowledge he could acquire. Everything. All meaningless.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about some things that I've loved to brag about over the years, like that I could hold my breath for 2.5 minutes.
It's meaningless.
Or that I swim this. I used to swim the lap pool
from
one end to the other and back, and
I'm just going to keep saying it's meaningless.
It mattered to me, butthead. It mattered to me. It mattered, and I'm sitting here going, "Why? Why does it matter to me? Why does it matter that I tell people that I got in a fight with 7 people and I won?" I'm like, why does it matter? And I'm sitting here going, I guess there's a part of me that does feel sort of proud. Like I did that. But I'm like, it doesn't really mean anything, I guess. Right. What good does it do to anybody? No good whatsoever. But I'm like, is it because I don't have,
yeah.
is it that I want to feel like I did something instead of God? I mean, what is it?
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me. You just imagine a little kid. Hey, look at me. Look at me.
But I wonder what God thinks about it.
I just read ahead into chapter 2. That's what we're studying this week. And it's like, so I said, laughter is silly. What good is it? What good does it do to seek pleasure? Like, wow, dude, he's laying the lumber.
That's what's hard about this. I'm sitting here thinking about like sins.
Laughter is silly. Quit doing it. Quit laughing. I don't know if that's what that means. We're going to dig into it this week, but I'm just like, wow, okay.
Don't be laughing.
I know. It's why seek laughter? Why seek pleasure?
So this is, God, how much time do we have?
Well, he's not telling us not to.
No, he's not. He's reflecting, and I like the poetic way that it's written, but yeah.
He's consistent. Really Solomon has come to the end of himself by the time he writes Ecclesiastes.
Which is a good place to be.
And Solomon, remember, his father was a man after God's own heart.
Yes.
And he was not a man after God's own heart.
Right.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. He was not supposed to, back then you just kind of married everybody. It was a way of consolidating power. Mm-hmm. But he was never supposed to bring any, I forget what it was called. Basically someone who did not believe in God, any heathen, we'll say it, into his house and marry them. And he did every religion out there in order to consolidate power.
He had all the girls, the whole he did it. He did it all. He had girls.
He had every bit of wealth. He had every bit of knowledge. And so, Creighton and I, my son, were talking last night about, trying to pursue, because God says, be holy as I am holy. And we are supposed to strive for perfection, knowing we will never attain a perfection. And so he said, weren't the Pharisees basically striving for perfection? And what we boiled everything down to last night was what they were pursuing perfection. We are to pursue God and be holy as God is holy.
That's right.
So when you're pursuing laughter, I'm going to get drunk so that I can be happy and laugh.
Right.
Then that is silly.
Which is what Solomon continues to say in that scripture is like, then he tried wine and then he was doing all of that.
I mean, when you're pursuing money, when you're pursuing God and you need wealth to do something in his kingdom, that is holy.
You need laughter to get through the day.
Yes,
all that. When
joy.
It's a byproduct of you pursuing God.
100%.
Rather than being the product that you're pursuing itself. What you're pursuing itself. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where Solomon's going in it. And I love
motivation.
I mean, I think of, what Gabriel said a minute ago, of just these things that you feel proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
weren't necessarily sin.
They weren't sin. I say it all the time. We didn't build Providence, our company. God built that. Yeah. And in some ways I can see that right now today in this conversation. I've been taking pride in it, like we did something by not doing something. I mean, you know what I mean? It's so,
round and round we go.
Humble pride.
The humble brag. Yeah, that's what you want.
And now are you taking pride in that you did recognize that?
I'm not. I'm feeling like we're having some clarity. I'm feeling like we're having some clarity.
What's that? What's that Friends episode where they're like, "Can you do can you do anything
selfless act,
an actually truly selfless act?" And they're Phoebe.
That's what it is.
I was like,
not Frasier.
You said Daphne.
Daphne.
So are you referring? So when you said that, I'm taking pride in the fact that we didn't do anything. Is that? I'm seeing if I understand, because I heard a story of a guy one time he preached a great message, and another pastor come up and said, "Man, that was awesome." He said, "Oh, it was all God." And he just kept going on. He's like, "It's all God." And the guy finally said, "Dude, if it's all God, it'd have been a lot better than that." Yeah. So chill out. I mean, is that where you were tracking? Like, it's like you've developed a pride and like, oh no, it was all God.
Well, and I know that, we have only just this year realized that we kind of took pride in that whole concept. And this year, the whole script has been flipped. And instead of feeling like the Lord, like we were just supposed to, like nonchalantly bumble along a path, I'm seeing that we had to get real intentional this year about staying in business, because we're in mortgage. 60% of our industry is gone due to the interest rates, all of that. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't flip it fast enough because I'd taken so much pride in the, I don't really pay attention to that stuff. I just let God deal with it. You know what I mean? I had taken so much pride in that this other, and it's a whole new way. I love the new way. It's takes so much more intellect to do it, and focus and number crunching and all of that. And pain. It comes with some pain. We had to do layoffs.
Intellect to do what?
To do it the way that we're doing it now.
To run your business the way you're doing it now, it takes more intellect.
Right. We're having to run it now. You mean
intellect, or takes more interest? Like get in there and
No, it strokes the intellect, because I'm having a number crunch. So I'm having to use more intellectual power. Whereas before, I felt like in the past, I didn't have to use a lot of intellectual power. It was just like, I feel like we should go this way. I feel it was more like based on a feeling, lots of feelings involved. And this year we've had to bear down on, God use the brain God gave you. I can hear my dad saying, God gave you a brain, use it, to actually do some of the things to stay here and be here.
I love that you used the word feeling before we came in here, before y'all even got here. Me and Hank were talking. I read my daily devotional today. And it was the devotional is about how to turn a setback into a comeback, but today's was about feelings, about the presence of God. The presence of God is always there, but I myself can get caught up in the feeling side of it. Like this week, something's been off about me, and I could even venture to say, "Man, I just haven't felt the presence of God this week," and that's wrong. The Bible says that God is with me. Nothing can separate me from God. His presence is always there, but we get caught up in the feeling side of it. And it doesn't have there. You may not feel it. Well, think about Job. You think he felt the presence of God, but God never left him, never left him. And he knew that and he stood on that in faith. But I just thought about that because you were saying when things were rocking and rolling, it felt good and you made feeling decisions. And now you're like, is God any more or less in your business today than he was 2 years ago? Right. Not at all. But it feels a little different.
It feels like, where are you? Well, I want you to use your brain.
Yeah, I've never left.
I'm still here, but I'm not doing what I was doing before because I want you to do a few more things.
So let me ask y'all this. So what are the dangers of doing this? What are the dangers of these? Yeah, it was quite the slurshy slursh, huh?
Oh, is that what you're giving me the look? I thought you weren't understanding.
It was like you were rinsing with Listerine.
Slurshy slursh.
Yep.
I thought you were giving the look like you didn't understand where Hank was going with the question. I was like,
that's what I thought at first, and then that triggered. She was looking at Jerry, and I was like, "What?" And then it all replayed in my head. I was like, "Wow, that was
like the swallowing swallow I've ever heard."
Okay, Emmett Smith.
Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Well, he's been off for a few weeks, so he's having to get back in the group.
Give some grace here.
So, are you saying what are some dangers? Or are you talking about romanticizing?
Of romanticizing sin?
Yeah, like we're sitting here. We know why we do it, but what are the dangers? Like you're telling your testimony. It's the same testimony. Like, man, I mean, if I say it like, if I'm giving because the big thing is especially giving testimony.
Yeah, let's hone in on that for a second.
Let's land the plane.
So so say I'm giving my testimony. Y'all tell me what's wrong with this. I'm giving my testimony. I'm like, man, oh gosh, if it wasn't for the Lord, and I still to this day cannot believe that he saved me from myself. Because man, I mean, I used to pack. It used to take me 18 beers
to get a buzz.
To even get a buzz.
Well, I think you're promoting the devil. I mean, I think you spend a little bit of time about God, but then you directly go into promoting how awesome the sin was.
Yeah, to doing man, I had a woman every night. I mean, is there a need for that kind of? You know what I'm saying? Like because the details in your testimony, you can just as easily say, "Man, I was promiscuous." And it would eat away at my soul. And
look
to this day, I have no idea what it did to those women.
What did Paul say? I love it. There's that one sin that we all wonder, what were you talking about, Paul?
That's so true.
What were you saying? He said that thorn in his side that God would not remove from him. He didn't say what that sin was, did he?
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Is right?
Yeah, it is a thorn. That's a big debate.
Do we have to say
a physical ailment or whether it was a sin that he struggled with? I don't know. But he does talk about the sin that so easily besets us, but
we're so eat up with details. And I think about, for me, when people are living in sin, man, if they can find a loophole, a justification, and if you're saying, man, I can remember it took me 18 beers to get a buzz. Some people, I would be tempted if I'm trying to justify my sin and be like, well, I'm only drinking 5 beers today. I've only drank 5 a day. So yeah, I'm good. He could get to 18. And so I'm not too bad because I'm only doing 5, because the emphasis has changed rather than, I don't know. I think that's the danger.
It damages a testimony? I think it weakens.
I think it waters it down.
It does water it down.
Shifts the focus. It kind of shifts the focus.
And when you're using God to justify or to really promote sin, the devil's work, you're using him to promote that. And the danger of that too is just that it's always with you, and it can always rear its ugly head in your life.
Well, and if you're sharing that with someone, because guys are terrible about one-upping. And if somebody's, if you're getting counseling, if they're asking you for counsel and you're trying to just share part of your testimony, why did you need to share how many you could drink unless you were trying to one up them?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying.
I was a better sinner than you, bro.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, man, I was a legend in my day, you know. It just is this, and it's filthy, and it's a process of sanctification, man. You realize these things as you go on, but man, if you really want to give testimony, because that's really what it comes down to. I mean, we all have our moments of pride, and this and that, and the Lord in His faithfulness continues to burn it out of us. But I think especially when giving your testimony, it's so important to be careful with not glorifying.
Yes, be
the
careful.
sin.
I remember. I'm thinking
testimony.
I think all of y'all remember. I remember Pastor Garvin McCarroll, and because we all love gossip, right? And there was a failure or something happened. Somebody had left the church, and I went to Pastor Garvin, and I was trying to get the tea. And he
so embarrassed.
And he wouldn't.
If anybody knows Garvin.
But here's what I'm thinking of. Because I will never forget this, because I was wanting the details. I knew the guy did something wrong and he was no longer there. And I remember going to Garvin. He's like, yeah, if somebody asks, we just don't talk about the details. It's not fruitful. Just pray for that person. We're going to pray for that person. And I'm more impressed today that I still don't know the details and the way he responded and didn't try to one up and say, oh, yeah, it was bad, man. He did this. I just wanted the details because I wanted the gossip.
And then I said this to him.
Right. None of that ever came up. And to this day, that has spoke. The fact that I don't know the details, I didn't know the thorn in the side like Paul talks about, really ministered to me more by not knowing the details.
That's leadership. Mm-hmm. Right?
100%.
That's leadership. I do wonder who's all the leadership in my life. I don't know if I have a lot.
Well, and if the great ones hasn't shared your business even though they've known it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I try to apply that to myself. Like, man, let's quit giving up the details. Let's quit talking about how much we could drink or how many women we had. Let's just talk about how great God has been in our life and how great He can be in their life.
Like, I've grasped the concept years ago. When I was actually on Facebook, I stopped putting anything on there that didn't have something to do with God, because I grasped the concept that if I'm going to share something on to the world, quote unquote, then if I got something to say, it should point to God. There's nothing really worth saying except if it points to God. But in my life, I don't do it.
I'm taking my Facebook post down from 2 days ago. It's all starting to come to fruition, like why I've had an attitude all week and why I'm in my feels. Like,
oh man, now I'm dying to get on Facebook. So
it was just, I said, 3 things are on my last nerve right now.
Oh, I saw that. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, it was the heat. I had 3 5-gallon buckets of weeds I pulled out of my yard that I normally don't have weeds, but the heat just breeds that. That's there's only 2 things that flourish in heat is road construction and weeds. And I'm done with all of them.
Yes.
I did think, man, that's kind of whiny. When I saw it.
Well, I had a day.
I don't know Jared to be a whiner.
I'd had a day of taking 30 minutes to get to a 10-minute destination. That's happened all day to me. I've got weeds everywhere.
He got 3 different pictures to pull together. Like he put some work into.
I did. I drew a picture for everybody. I'm over it. I'm done. I was romanticizing my frustration in picture.
It makes me think of all of this. Kind of makes me come back to that song. Do y'all maybe know it? Is it like Jars of Clay or something? But it says, "I don't want to leave a legacy." Do y'all know that one?
No.
I don't want to leave a legacy. I don't care what people. Something about me. Only Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I get it now.
It's all about, like, if it doesn't point back to Jesus, then I don't want anything to do with it. Like.
Yeah, I heard John MacArthur being interviewed not too long ago, and he is so.
Who's John MacArthur?
He's this 80-something-year-old pastor in California that's rock solid guy, been preaching his whole life. But anyway, he has a huge church, and anyway, but the guy that was interviewing him was really, what do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done? And you could just tell he was like, I really don't want a legacy.
Right.
He said, I want everything that I have done ever to point to Christ.
Point to Him.
He was like, my hope is that people will forget about me as soon as it's all said and done and get there because their eyes are focused on Christ. And then I shifted it to Christ every time.
Yep.
So just like Solomon said, it's meaningless.
It's meaningless.
Yeah, it is meaningless. Which, that's kind of a double-edged sword there, too, because some of the things I really don't want people to remember about me. So I'm glad it's a vapor.
Yeah.
Vape on out of here as quick as you can.
That's right.
Well, awesome, man! It was great having everybody back together this week. And,
it was.
And,
I feel so much better. I feel like I just had a therapy session. I needed it.
yeah,
True. Yeah.
This was a Jared therapy. This was a Jeremy session.
Y'all are welcome for getting to counsel me today. Thank you.
I think that's what I'll title it: the Great Jeremy Session.
I like it.
Jared strikes again.
Where's my $100, man?
Yeah.
I'm your therapist.
As long as he owes you, you'll never be broke.
Pay up.
All right, let's pray. Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for your therapy. And thank you for helping us to always remember, Lord, that it's all about you and it's not at all about us. And we find peace and comfort in that. Lord, we love you. We thank you for the opportunity to do ministry in your name. Amen.
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 Go ye into all the world
And preach the gospel.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm not proud of it.
To be clear,